What is up guys, Andy Forest Team Runner here, and today we're going to be talking all about the Asics Novablast and in particular how they go on in the speed test and the long run test. So today we're going to start with the long run test. We'll save the speed test to the second. Now I was wanting to get this video out a week before, but of course we had Gloucester 20 last weekend. So today's the first chance I get to run long in the Asics Novablast, and I just have no words for this shoe. It's incredible. But today, before I spoil my thoughts at the end, because we've only just started 2 miles in to the long run, I'm running for an hour 45 today, so I'm running quite steady. So hopefully we'll get around about 15 miles in the shoe, which would be great. Perfect long run length to test and see how these things fare over the duration. So I'm going to buckle up, enjoy the long run, enjoy the incredible weather, and I'll touch base with you at the end as to how they performed. So there we go, just wrapping up the long run out, 14 out of 15 miles so far. Last mile finishing off on the industrial estate of dreams. And talking of dreams, this shoe is a dream. It has kept me bouncing from mile 1 right through to mile 15. Paces have dramatically dropped. We're negative splitting. I'm having a blast. I don't care what the pace is. I'm not training for anything. I'm letting my legs do the talking. I'm having fun. Just clocked to 6:14, running at 6:20 pace now. Feeling incredible. I think fitness gains have happened. Plus this shoe, plus the Univer gels. It's a winning combination. Anyway, that's the long run test done. I'll fill you in on the finer details. Let's jump to the speed test. So, onto the speed test. I'm going to refer back to a couple of runs for this. Sadly, we don't have any specific footage for the speed test, but we have a very good reason for that. We did indeed get this shoe the week commencing the Gloucester 20 race, so we took it out for its first impressions, did a pretty quick run in it then, which I'll refer back to shortly. We then ran the Gloucester 20 race, and then of course after that, COVID-19, the coronavirus has really swept UK, but of course it's doing masses of devastation across the world in other countries, which is absolutely horrific to watch. And I took the conscious decision, along with many of you guys and other people, to really not push myself in training from now onwards. It's really important that we keep our immune systems up, and as much as it's really important for us to go out and run, our health is much more of a priority. So what I decided to do is pull some data for some previous runs in this shoe and talk to you a little bit about it. There are 2 runs in particular that I want to talk about. The first impressions run that we did, I think that was an 8 or a 9 mile tempo, I can't remember off the top of my head, but long and short of it is that run, if you saw my first impressions video, then you'll know what I'm about to say. But we obviously took this thing out, I did some filming in the first couple of miles, and after that I was going to go for a bit of up-tempo work. Well, we put the hammer down. We clocked some sub 6 minute mile pace on the trails in this shoe. And for me, that would normally class as a speed test anyway. I did really want to do kind of an interval session in this shoe just because I wanted to, similar to what we did in the 1080. As I said, we haven't had the chance, but I was really, really impressed with how this thing felt at those sub 6 minute mile paces, especially on the trails, which is awesome. And from there, I've done a multitude of other runs. I've got 40 miles in the shoe already, which is a bit of a bonus because this video would have been out last week if it wasn't for the Gloucester 20. I would have done the long run in it last weekend, but it's given me a chance to put some more miles in it, and I've done some more runs in it. And what I'm finding is I cannot run easy in this shoe. This shoe just makes me want to move. Every time I go out in an easy run in this shoe, I end up either progressing the run or progressing into some kind of steady state, to the point where, as you saw in the long run video, I felt absolutely amazing anyway. But I've got to say, progressing this thing to some sub 6:30 paces at the end, 6:14, 6:20s, at the end of a 15-mile long run, it just feels effortless. And that leads me on to the sweet spot that I have found with this shoe. And we'll talk about how I'm going to be using the shoe moving forwards very shortly and my overall thoughts on it. But it is definitely a shoe that I'm going to be using on those up-tempo to tempo days. So let's move on to giving you guys my final thoughts on the Asics Novablast. I think what I'm going to start off by saying is what an incredible shoe. For me, this has been an absolute gem of a find this year in 2020, and I can only hope, Asics, if you're listening, which I know you won't be, but if you are, please make more shoes like this. If you made shoes like this, I would purely and solely run in Asics again. This is an absolute dream of a shoe. So out of the 40 miles that I've put in, I've done about 4 or 5 different types of runs in this thing now. As I said, I've run easy or tried to run easy. We've done tempo work in it. We've done a long run. We've done everything bar interval work, and I've got to say it just works across the board. You know, when I record these videos, I tend to say where I would sway towards putting a shoe in my rotation if it's good for an easy day, if it's not. This thing just works for every single type of run. I couldn't believe how magic my feet felt at the end of 15 miles on the long run. Not only that, but picking it up to the paces, as I said, that we picked it up to just felt incredible. And in terms of doing tempo work in it, it's just the ideal shoe. This kind of meta rocker design here that just makes you want to feel like you're standing on the edge of a curb, and it just lifts you straight off, combined with the bounce and the propulsion that you get from this flight foam blast, is just an absolute magic winning combination. So how will I be using this shoe moving forward? Well, first of all, I've got to say I'm going to be using it a lot, and what I want to do, and it's making it my mission, is I want to try and break this shoe down as much as possible. I want to use it until it is no good, because for me personally, it's all about durability. You saw with the Rincon, my 2019 shoe of the year, absolutely incredible shoe. Sadly, the EVA midsole on that thing died after around 160 miles, and I gather with the Rincon 2 coming out later this year, it's using the same type of midsole. So although I'll be grabbing myself a pair of those, I'm not going to hold out much hope that it's going to last any longer. This is going to be key for this. What I would love to see in the Novablast is to at least get to 200 miles in it with that pop. Obviously, a lot of you guys out there, and myself included, like to try and put more miles into shoes, but I think if we can get 200 miles out of this thing, feeling as good and responsive as it is now, then that would be an absolute dream. So that is, of course, the only concern I have with this shoe. How good and long will it stay as it is, if that makes sense? Other than that, moving forward, as I said, it's a shoe I'm going to be using for everything, and I am rocketing towards the 100-mile mark. It's going to be overtaking the 1080 V10. I feel really sorry for the 1080 V10 because it's a brilliant shoe, but this thing just hands down pips it to the post. So those are my thoughts on the Asics Novablast after the speed test and long run test. Of course, I will touch base with you guys after 100 miles and let you know how it's faring. Fingers crossed, everything will be absolutely incredible with it after then, and then we'll see how we go after 200 miles. But of course, let me know in the comments below, have you run in the Asics Novablast? I know a lot of you have, and a lot of you guys are singing off the same hymn sheet as me. You're saying how incredible it is. Let me know in the comments below if you're intending on buying it. I know a lot of you have the Evo ride, the Meta ride, the Glide ride. and say it's an incredible shoe, and Asics have really come a long way. I can highly recommend you guys adding this thing to your rotation as well. So that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you on the next one. Until then.